Marina, an independent and successful woman, met Miguel in a cozy little bar in the city center. Their eyes met amid the music and the buzz of the place, and from that moment on, they knew there was something special between them. 5 years have passed since then, and Marina and Miguel have built a solid and loving relationship. Miguel was a divorced man with a son called Pedro from his previous relationship. Miguel's mother, Clara, played a key role in helping him look after Pedro, as the boy's mother was not present in his life. Marina admired Miguel's dedication as a father and Clara's constant support. At the beginning of their relationship, Miguel made a surprising proposal to Marina. He suggested that she move in with him, Pedro, and Clara. Miguel was determined to build a united and happy family, and promised to rent a spacious apartments so that everyone would feel comfortable. Marina, a woman with a good job as a company manager, was flattered by Miguel's proposal. She loved Miguel deeply and wanted to be an integral part of his and his son's lives. The idea of building a life together, sharing not only happy times, but also the challenges of everyday life, thrilled her. In the first few days of Marina, her mother-in-law Clara, and Miguel's son Pedro living together, the atmosphere at home was strangely tense. Pedro was distant and reserved towards Marina, maintaining a certain coldness in his interactions. Marina, determined to create a bond with her stepson, tried various approaches to get closer to him, but her attempts were often met with silence or short answers. As much as Marina tried to understand Pedro's behavior, she couldn't help feeling discouraged and frustrated by his lack of reciprocity. She began to wonder if Pedro was simply shy, or if there was something deeper behind his reserve. Meanwhile, Clara, Marina's mother-in-law, seemed to maintain a tolerant attitude towards her. Although she wasn't hostile, Clara wasn't enthusiastic about Marina's presence in her family's life either. Her reserved looks and distant demeanor made Marina uncomfortable and insecure in her new family dynamic. Marina had always found her family's routine a little strange. When she came home from work to prepare dinner, she noticed that Clara and Pedro always ate first, while she preferred to wait for Miguel, her partner, who came home from work a little later. Miguel held a very important position in a company, which often kept him busy late into the night with meetings and appointments. Despite her dedication to her work, Marina began to notice that the company where Miguel worked was experiencing low results with each passing year. She was worried about the family's financial future, especially considering that they were building a life together and relying on Miguel's financial stability. However, Miguel seemed resistant to considering other job opportunities. He valued his current position highly and was reluctant to risk changing jobs, even in the face of the challenges facing the company. For him, the prominent position he held was important, not only financially, but also in terms of status and personal prestige. Marina, determined to build a solid relationship with Pedro, her stepson, was constantly looking for ways to get involved in his life. She noticed that the boy often seemed to want to tell her something, but something always prevented him from opening up completely. Marina suspected that Pedro might be facing issues that he didn't feel comfortable sharing, and she wanted to be there for him, offering support and comfort. However, her attempts to get closer to Pedro were often thwarted by the intervention of Clara, his mother-in-law. Clara seemed determined to keep Marina at a distance from Pedro, constantly interfering and interrupting their interactions. She insisted that Pedro already had everything he needed and that Marina didn't need to worry about being involved in the boy's life. The years passed and Marina increasingly felt as if she didn't belong. Despite her efforts to integrate and build a harmonious relationship, everyone seemed distant and reserved. Pedro grew up quickly and soon began dating a girl called Sofia. Before long, the two got married, leaving the house with one less member. Now, in that empty house, only Marina, Clara, and Miguel remained. With Pedro gone, the family dynamic changed drastically. Clara, without a son around to occupy her attention, found a new target for her criticism: Marina. She seemed to take every opportunity to belittle and criticize Marina, even in the little things of everyday life. As much as Marina tried to keep the peace and continue contributing to the household, Clara insisted on pointing out flaws and imperfections in everything she did. Even though Marina had always prepared dinner without complaint, Clara now made a point of saying that she never knew how to cook. The constant criticism and hostility made it increasingly difficult for Marina to get along. Marina, returning home after a long day at work, was surprised to find her mother-in-law Clara in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Before Marina could even understand what was happening, Clara started hurling cruel words in her direction. She accused her of being a burden on the family, of being useless, and suggested that Miguel was tired of her. Stunned and unable to understand what was happening, Marina tried in vain to argue or understand Clara's accusations. Then her mother-in-law, looking triumphant, showed her a photo on her cell phone. It was Miguel, her partner, in the same bar where they first met, hugging another woman. Marina felt her heart squeeze as she stared at the image, unable to process what was happening. Before she could even begin to understand Miguel's betrayal, Clara continued to pour out her cruel words. She told Marina that she should leave that house in 2 days, because Pedro and his wife Sofia would be moving back in, and there would be no room for useless people like her in that house. Stunned, hurt, and not knowing how to react to her partner's betrayal and her mother-in-law's cruelty, Marina could barely articulate a word. She simply turned and left the house, without looking back, determined to go out to dinner that night to escape the pain and confusion that had suddenly invaded her life. Marina, walking through the streets, felt a whirlwind of emotions. Miguel's betrayal and Clara's accusations still echoed in her mind, but now she was beginning to put the pieces of the puzzle together. For the past 2 years, Marina had taken on the financial burden of the apartment she shared with Miguel. Although she earned considerably more than him, it was she who bore the brunt of the $6,000 rent and many other household expenses. Marina always wondered why Miguel didn't contribute financially as he should, but he always gave excuses related to the situation at the company where he worked. He asked Marina not to share this information with her mother, Clara, and she naively agreed. Now, as she reflected on all this, Marina began to realize that she had been used by Miguel. He had taken advantage of her generosity and dedication, allowing her to take on the financial burden of the relationship while he carried on an affair on the sly. This revelation left her devastated. She felt betrayed, not only by Miguel, but also by Clara, who always seemed to distrust her for no apparent reason. Marina realized that she needed to make a decision about her future. Marina finally made up her mind. Tired of enduring such a painful and unfair situation, she decided it was time to act. Even though she didn't know how she had endured the situation for so long, Marina was determined to teach everyone involved a lesson. At that very moment, she picked up the phone and called the moving service. She arranged for them to pick up her things the next day. Marina returned home as if nothing had happened, keeping her decision a secret. The next morning, exactly at the agreed time, the moving truck arrived and started honking its horn in front of the building. Her mother-in-law, still drowsy, woke up startled to find several men entering her house and starting to load up practically all the appliances and furniture. The apartment was being emptied before her eyes. Marina watched with a satisfied look on her face, while her mother-in-law remained unresponsive, unable to understand what was happening. Marina turned her back and left, leaving her mother-in-law behind without understanding a thing. Marina, now in her new home, was trying to get back on her feet after everything that had happened. While she was adapting to her new surroundings, her phone rang. It was Miguel, desperate, asking to talk to her in the apartment. He had left early, so he hadn't seen when Marina had left the apartment. He didn't know that Marina already knew about his betrayal. Marina, determined to clarify the situation, decided to confront everyone. Seeing the indignant looks on the faces of Miguel, Clara, Pedro, and Sofia, when she entered the apartment, without wasting any time, she turned to Clara and began to reveal the truth. "Clara, for the last 2 years, I've been the one paying the rent for this apartment," said Marina. "All the expenses related to this house were my responsibility." There was a moment of shocked silence as Clara, Miguel, Pedro, and Sofia absorbed Marina's words. Clara, visibly upset, refused to believe it. "That can't be true," she said, her voice shaking with disbelief. "Miguel has always earned well in his job. He would never need your help." Marina looked at Miguel, whose expression was a mixture of embarrassment and surprise. It was then that she decided to reveal the secret that Miguel had kept for so long. "Clara, the truth is that Miguel always asked me to keep his financial situation a secret," Marina said firmly. "He wasn't earning as well as you thought. He was struggling to support this lifestyle." The shock on Clara's face was evident as Marina's words began to sink in. She looked at Miguel for an explanation, but he remained silent, unable to find the right words to justify his actions. Pedro, observing the situation with an expression of sadness, finally spoke up. He said that he knew about his father's financial situation and that he was taking advantage of Marina, but said that he had never had the courage to tell Marina the truth. Sofia despaired, realizing that her hopes of a comfortable life were crumbling before her. She asked Pedro where they were going to live and how they were going to support the baby with so little money. It was then that Marina, with a look of debauchery, turned to Sofia and said that Sofia will have to work hard, just as she had to work to keep this apartment and all the useless people in it. "Or maybe Samantha can do that," she said, glaring at Miguel and revealing the name of her lover. Marina, feeling victorious for finally exposing the truth and taking a firm stand, turned to leave the apartment. Before leaving, she looked at Miguel, Clara, Pedro, and Sofia with a mixture of determination and compassion, saying that they could rent a cheaper house and that this month's rent was on him. With those words, Marina left the apartment, feeling as if she had regained control of her life. As she left, she could hear the murmurs of discussion that followed between Miguel, Clara, Pedro, and Sofia. She knew she was leaving behind a complicated situation, but she was determined to move on and build a better future for herself. In essence, Marina's journey teaches us to value ourselves, stand up against injustice, and embrace our resilience in the pursuit of a brighter tomorrow. It serves as a poignant reminder that we have the strength within us to overcome even the most difficult circumstances and forge our own path to fulfillment and happiness.